And word came out yesterday that John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations for the Cardinals, went to Nolan Arenado, which he didn't. He would have gone to Joe Wolf, the agent. Yes, the same Joe Wolf that you saw talk in the winter meetings as the agent for Sasaki, the Japanese phenom who has been posted. Yes, that same Joe Wolf who is the agent for Giancarlo Stanton. Yes, that same Joe Wolf who's the agent for Nolan Arenado. I want to give you some perspective on what's happening here because a little bit of a misunderstanding. When you go to a player and ask him through the agent to waive his no trade clause, it's not a simple, yes, I will do it. It is a to who and for what and when. To who, for what, and when. To who is very easy. We will tell you that we have a trade in place with the Houston Astros. For what? Well, just so you know, here's what the Cardinals will be getting back, because you do tell the player. It's totally fine to tell the player. It's totally fine to tell the agent. Players have an interest in, they look at value. And have you ever thought of this when someone gets released? It's obvious. You know how they feel, like, wow, I am not valued by this team. When someone gets traded, they often say to you, well, it's an honor to be wanted by the acquiring team. But they pay very close attention. Was I worth 2 guys, 3 guys, 4 guys? How much money of my contract did you have to pay down in order to market to market? What is the acquiring team willing to pay for me? There's a whole negotiation because the Cardinals owe him $74 million over the next 3 years. And the question is, how much of that do they need to pay? Like the way the Cubs paid $2.5 million a year to the Yankees, the way the Marlins are paying $10 million a year for 3 years starting next year for Stanton. These types of money movement trades happen all the time, and there's a sensitivity to it. So to who? The Astros. For what? TBD, other than the Cardinals appear willing to pay 5. When? When you are a player who has negotiated a no trade clause, whether you negotiated in your contract or whether you earned it by being in the league for 10 years and with the same team for the last 5, it's called 10 and 5 rights, which gives you an automatic no trade clause, which, by the way, makes me laugh when there is a player, let's call him Juan Soto, and we say, oh, Juan Soto got a full no trade clause. Well, guess what? In a 15-year deal, when you look at year 6 of that deal, he will have been in the league for 10 years. He will have been with the same team for 5. He has the no trade clause. So when people say, oh, I got a no trade clause for the whole contract, it's really for the first couple of years. So when you're negotiating, you can have it evolve into a full no trade. That's called a partial no trade clause, where you're allowed to give a list. Here are the 5 teams I will not allow to be traded to, or the 10 teams. Sometimes you do a contract where the first year of it, it's a no trade to 3 teams, and then 5 teams, and then 8, and you work your way up to 29, because after 5 years of the deal for a veteran player, they've got a no trade clause to 29 teams anyway. So the when becomes important when you've got a full no trade clause, because from Nolan Arenado's standpoint, he doesn't need to choose the Astros today. This is not Nolan Arenado saying, I will never be a Houston Astro. This is Nolan Arenado saying, I will never be a Houston Astro today. So what do you do when you are the Cardinals? Well, the first thing you do is you say to the agent, is there any team where the when is today? And if you get an indication that there's a team with Stanton, it was the Dodgers and the Yankees, those were the now teams. There were a few teams that were the never teams, like the Cardinals were a never team. The Giants were a maybe team, but then a trade was put in place with the Giants for Stanton under the new ownership, which is Jeter's now gone, of course. And that was a not now. And the reason you do that is that maybe you can get your team, the Cardinals in this case, to make a deal with the exact location that you want to go as a player. Maybe your wife, maybe your family, maybe yourself, you've got different preferences, different thoughts on timing, all sorts of things that are coming to bear. So when you read that Nolan Arenado has blocked the trade to the Houston Astros, just know that's clickbait because it ain't true. He has told them not today.